My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today's podcast is titled, You Either Create Success or You Don't. So this one, we're going to talk pretty deep into why people don't see success or they do see success. And I'm going to speak in the realm of health, wellness, but also, as always, these topics go so deep. And I challenge anyone that when you don't have your health, I guarantee the other areas of your life are lacking. And so here's the biggest problem is we have a blah life. We have a blah goal. We have blah emotions. We have just this kind of, life's okay. Life's going in a certain path. And for a lot of people, this is it. They feel like they've made it. They've gotten to a certain point of success in their life, or they have their own talk tracks that they can't do things or be this. And it's just such an interesting space to me because I have always dreamed. I have always wanted more. I have always desired, just really interesting things for, I guess, my upbringing. I've shared on other podcasts and just other pieces of content that I put out, a very interesting conversation. And this conversation was with my dad. And at the end of the day, I know my dad just has the best for me, but he said something that just, again, it like etched a hole in me that said, why can't you be happy with where you're at? Now, at that particular moment of my life, we had been in business for well over, it was well into our 10th, 11th, 12th year, somewhere in there. And we had reached what he felt was success that they would never have gone for. We had purchased another commercial building. We had started to have our family. And I remember distinctly at that moment, I said to my dad, I need to run for office. Now, this is the woman that had nothing to do with politics. Now, here, years later, I have a lot more intel and obviously vested interest, as we all should. But I remember him saying, no, you can't do that. You're not crooked. You're not a liar. And I was like, well, Dad, that's kind of the point. But I remember him saying the words, why can't you be happy with where you are? And there's a lot that goes into that statement that he misunderstood. Where I was currently in that moment, I was happy, but I'm the happiest. I'm thriving when I'm building, when I'm creating, when I'm helping more people, when I'm having greater impact. And, so someone could say that very easily, like, why do you keep doing all these things? And I would certainly understand that. But on the flip side, don't snuffle someone's light. Don't put out the candle that still wants to burn. And so where I want to take this topic here today is you either create your success or you don't. The problem that I see is we can turn into the whining, the complaining, the frustration. And here's the deal. When it comes to weight loss, I completely can appreciate when You're not where you want to be, but have you done the things to get there? Now, with some of the people that I've talked to, they think they've done everything. And when in reality, when you have someone who's an expert, has knowledge, has coached hundreds, working into the thousands of women, you need to kind of take note going, hey, maybe I haven't done everything. I think it's so interesting when you get on a call with someone who does what you want, the outcome you want for a living, but you haven't been successful on your own. It's worth your interest to listen, to take notes, to ask good questions. And it's just been very interesting, being the time and space when this podcast is being recorded is January, at the start of a new year. And this is when a lot of people do seek out help. But what has been interesting is just a last few couple conversations I've had is, they want to argue with me. And I'm like, whoa. We got on this call to help you. If you got it all figured out, cool. Why are we on this call? Which was just very interesting to me because, again, if you're not where you want to be, there's something missing. There's something that we haven't fully embraced. Maybe we don't know how to fully execute a progressive resistance training program. Maybe we don't know what progressive overload actually looks like. For most women, if you're still using the 5 and 10 pound weights, you're at some point, we are going to want to increase that and increase the stimulus appropriately, but we got to start somewhere, and that's all good. But if you're seeing the scale go up year after year after year, we cannot blame it on the hormones. Now, the hormones are not helping the matter, but they're not the exact reason. So why do we have a blah life? Why do we not reach goals? And I will tell you, there is a huge difference in the people who see success and the people who don't, is we have to create our success. And you may be like, okay, Arin, what does that actually mean? What do you mean by create our success? We have to have discipline. We have to have discipline every single day that we're going to go to bed at a certain hour in order to get up at a certain hour and maybe get those steps in. We have to have discipline to then actually get up instead of hitting snooze and getting those steps in, or doing the workout and pushing ourselves in an appropriate fashion, right? We also have to have the discipline to eat the way we need to eat in order to create the result. If a woman is desiring fat loss, we have to get ourselves in a caloric deficit, and we want to focus on increasing our protein. That's how this whole process actually becomes tolerable. But then let's just say you want to put muscle mass on, then we have to create the proper overload. We have to fuel the body with enough calories to actually put on the muscle fiber. So all this boils down to is 100% being disciplined. This is something that I have watched woman after woman after woman. The ones that are successful and the ones that are not, they didn't have any different resources. They didn't have any different tools. But there's a huge difference in, well, I got up this morning and this happened and then this happened and then you know what, this happened. And so you know what, screw it. I went and got crumble cookies, or screw it, I went and got, whatever, instead of eating the food that maybe they had prepared. That is the difference, being disciplined to not let those emotions take over you when you want a certain outcome, but then you don't do the actions that align with it. And for some of us, we are absolutely blind to this. We are absolutely blind. I know that there was a time and space in my life where I was absolutely blind to the actions and things that I was doing, yet desiring a different result, scratching my head saying, why the heck can't I have these results? It's no different in business. If we desire a certain outcome with our numbers and finances, there is the discipline of showing up and doing the thing over and over and over, even when we feel like we're not seeing results. See, that's the, like, I'm just going to say the secret under the secret is there are going to be times when you're like, is this working? But it's no different than when you're climbing that mountain and you take step after step and all of a sudden you think you're at the top and then you realize, oh shoot, there's like a whole nother like terrain to climb. For anyone who hikes, like you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like you think you're there and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, like that was just a sort of kind of, we got there and we've got a lot more to go. But this difference with wanting a certain outcome, but not leaning into these actions, this is the crux. This is the sweet spot where if you have been struggling over and over and over again, you've got to really dig deeper in understanding like, man, okay, I want a certain outcome, but I have been unwilling to do the actions or to do them long enough. And you have to ask the critical questions like, okay, hey girl, why? Like, what keeps happening? And then you want to stay super, super objective to like, okay, if I keep repeating these behaviors, what is that? Are you numbing out? Are you, trying to cope with either food or other types of calories, alcohol, sugar, those kinds of things? And if you're doing that, you want to ask yourself, okay, why am I doing that? What is the purpose behind having, a drink when you know that is potentially holding you back? So these are some really important questions, and these are questions that I help women really sort through because it can be very difficult to really pinpoint this on your own. The other thing that I want to speak into with this is you are just not motivated by the outcome. Now, you may be like, well, wait a minute, Arin, why wouldn't I be motivated by fitting in all my clothes, loving who I see in the mirror, able to wear, the shorts or the two-piece on the next vacation? Like, why wouldn't that motivate you? Now, that is a real question, because if you're settling, if you're saying, screw it, my husband loves me the way I am. Yeah, sure. But I'm just going to be honest. Everyone has a much, much better relationship when we all feel good in our own skin. Your husband, getting himself in really good shape, you taking the pride in your body, your health. And I'm here to tell you that your relationship only goes to a whole nother level when you feel like being intimate, when you feel like putting yourself out there, when you don't feel like you have to turn the lights off. I can't tell you how many women tell me that they don't want to make love to their husband with the lights on because they're embarrassed or self-conscious. And I'm here to tell you that that's not okay. But if you're in that camp, let's do something about it. It's okay to feel really, really sexy and feel really, really good in your own skin. And until you're there, it's really challenging to tell you how good it's going to feel. But I'm here to tell you, you will take your relationship to an entire other level. And you may be like, oh my God, I can't believe she's talking about this. But we need to talk about this stuff. It's very, very important, especially as you've been in a relationship, you've been married for, a couple decades plus, and keeping things awesome and having this connection. It just really is everything. And it's important for us women to talk about it. Because it's one thing to put yourself out there and have the confidence, but it's a whole nother thing to have the confidence at home with the person you love the most. And don't give me this crap, well, he loves me no matter what. Yeah, I got you. I got you. But don't you think things would go to a whole nother level? I do. And again, this isn't vain. This isn't vanity, but why not? Why not? So I want to challenge you to think about your desired outcome and understand that that outcome is actually what drives you. I'm going to sit here and say that you are not going to be motivated every single day to eat lettuce and carrots. Not that that's what we need to do, but you are just not going to be motivated to do the actions or say no in different situations. But what's going to drive you, what's going to keep you disciplined, what's going to keep your emotions out of this is understanding, man, you know what? Like, I cannot wait for spring break, and I don't even have to worry about it. I'm already ripped. I'm in good shape. I'm actually going to go get a new bikini. And you know what? I'm going to get the one that like I probably shouldn't wear, but I'm going to wear it anyways because I feel amazing in my own skin, right? So I'm just laughing because I think about all the women that just wear it anyways. And I'm like, all right, you go get them, team. But why not feel really, really good in your own skin and just love when you look in that mirror, you're just like, man, that is awesome. And I'm here to tell you it is possible because for a lot of women, I know we kind of discount it. We roll our eyes when we hear Arin talk about this for the umpteenth time. But the difference in you having success is you have to create this day after day after day that you are so worth it, that you know what you want. And yeah, you're going to have days, but you don't have to have a ton of bad days. You can have days that are kind of mediocre. You can have days that weren't necessarily a win, but for the most part, we're winning because all we're doing is we're doing the mundane things that when we show up day after day after day, getting those steps in, doing proper workouts, keeping ourselves in a caloric deficit that's appropriate and not too deep, that's when we start seeing these results. And when you change the identity, when you start showing up every single day, even though you may not be there, but you show up as the fit woman that you are. You show up as the confident woman that you are. See, I remember early on in business, I had no clue what I was doing, but I think I was just so young, so naive because I forget, like 23, 24, 25 years old when we started this business. And I remember showing up to different events, different networking, having to speak. I remember my voice cracking. I remember shaking like a leaf. But you know what? I kept showing up. I kept showing up. And every single time I showed up, there became more drops in the bucket, more reps being done, and I got stronger and stronger and stronger. This is what I know is going to happen for you when you truly embody that, hey, I have these goals and I actually want to hit them, like for real. Maybe in the next 6 months, because a lot of us look at it and think, oh, it's going to take me a year, 2 years, whatever, which maybe it does. But on the flip side, what if we said, hey, how quickly, within reason, huge asterisks, there is physiology to this, but what if you just said, I just did this earlier today. I was on a call with a client and I was just like, hey, by summer, I want you nailing this goal. Like, why not? And she was kind of like, yeah, why not? And it's important because we've got to get excited about the things that we want. We may not be excited every day, but I want you to remember that outcome is not far away. The problem is in our mind, it feels so far away. We get into the day, we get tired, we get frustrated. And yeah, I do too. But at the end of the day, I know exactly what I want. And I know that I don't have to settle. I know that I don't have to just be happy where I'm at. Why not reach for more? The cool thing and the thing that, my dad, going back to the very beginning of this podcast, is my dad didn't understand that I absolutely love and get fired up every single day to do what I do. I'm so thankful I don't have to go to a job and someone tell me what I had to do because honestly, I just don't do well in that environment. But I'm so self-driven and so self-motivated because I know every day that I get up, that I, put the face on and get out there, that means I'm helping more women. And that's truly everything. And this entire game that we are playing is you get up, you show up, and you create your success.